Brazil's Helio Castroneves reigned supreme in Indianapolis, while Alpine tested at Silverstone. You can now watch full 24-minute episodes of The Inside Line at our new home on unbeaten.com. Formula One cooled down last weekend, but the action was hot stateside at the famous Brickyard for the 105th running of the Indy 500, where there were jubilant celebrations as veteran Brazilian racer Helio Castroneves became just the fourth driver in history to win the blue-ribboned event for a fourth time, and in front of 135,000 fans. The Meyer Shank racing pilot started 8th from the 3rd row and was in contention for the win after the final stops, but sealed the deal with his pass on Alex Palou with 2 laps to go in a stunning finish. With Castroneves just half a second ahead of the Spaniard at the flag, to join AJ Foyt, Al Unser Sr. and Rick Mears as a 4-time Indy 500 winner, with 2021 the fastest ever race. As ever, there was no shortage of action on track, with smashes, spins, and teams struggling to restart cars as drivers ran out of fuel. Alpine was at Silverstone last week with junior drivers Guan Yu Zhou and Oscar Piastri sharing time in the RS18 across a 2-day test. The pair, who are fighting at the head of the F2 standings, with Zhou 16 points up on his Alpine rival, ahead of the next round in Baku, completed more than 500 kilometers each in the 2018 Grand Prix car.
Today it went pretty smooth. We got our program done nicely and mini laps done. You know, I learned a lot. It was really nice to be, get back from Monaco F2 straight to F1 Silverstone.
2-time F1 world champion Mika Hakkinen says there's still everything to play for this season, with just 4 points separating title fighters Max Verstappen and Sir Lewis Hamilton after Monaco. So far, Hamilton and Verstappen have shared all 5 victories, going 3-2, but Häkkinen says it's impossible to predict how the season will play out.
We are still early part of the season. So many things going to happen. So it's very difficult to say. But Verstappen obviously is getting very high experience of Formula One. Leclerc is definitely very great, fantastic driver. And Valtteri Bottas, very fast driver, good experience. And Lewis, of course. So it's a mix of drivers. You just don't know yet. It's going to be really exciting towards the end of the season.
Hamilton, however, remains favourite, not only given his experience, but the speed of the W12 and the team's history of success.
I don't have to say that. Talking about 7 times world champion, that requires enormous commitment towards the Formula One, towards the team, what he's racing at. So he has done fantastic work. And looking at the number of victories, what he's been having, that already indicates that way to beat that record gonna be very, very difficult.
Mercedes has revealed that Valtteri Bottas's disastrous pit stop in Monaco, in which he retired after the right front wheel couldn't be removed, was a result of the pneumatic gun being used at an angle. Bottas pitted from 2nd place on lap 29, but was left stationary after the pit gun machined the wheel nut, locking it in place.
What happened is we came on slightly angled. So when the socket was now connected to the nut, it was slightly angled relative to it. And as a result of that, now instead of distributing the load across all of the nut, it was across a small section. And that tore the metal clean off.
The team, however, still couldn't remove the wheel in the aftermath of the race, forcing it to wait until it returned to its Brackley base, which enabled a full investigation into the issue.
We did certain steps in Monaco to try and remove it, some during the pit stop, also some just afterwards. Ultimately, though, we concluded that to remove that nut, we're going to need some fairly heavy equipment and specialist equipment, and that would be better done here in the factory.
Japanese rookie driver Yuki Tsunoda says that he's still got a lot to learn from his AlphaTauri teammate Pierre Gasly. Tsunoda impressed on debut in Bahrain with 2 points for 9th, but has failed to score since, lagging 14 points adrift of the Frenchman, who has scored in 4 of the 5 races. But the 21-year-old from Greater Tokyo told F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid that Gasly's ability to deliver the perfect lap in qualifying, allied to his performance in windy conditions, sets him apart.
I can still not using maximum performance for wind effect. So even having a headwind, still I'm breaking same point as a tailwind. So I think and he adapt well every single session.
Alfa Romeo racing boss Frederick Vasseur has hinted Antonio Giovinazzi could lead the charge at Hinwil next year, with the Italian racer no longer needing Kimi Räikkönen as a reference. Giovinazzi is now in his 3rd full season with the Alfa Romeo squad and has not just out-qualified Räikkönen 4-1, but scored the team's only points so far at the last race in Monaco. But Vasseur says that while he's doing a good job and that his technical feedback is solid, Giovinazzi's biggest change has been the shift in focus towards himself rather than his Iceman teammate. It is not easy, because very often the first reference is your teammate, and now he's taking his own position into the team. And this is also important for us, he said. It's also a point that Giovinazzi made himself pre-season as one of his major goals for the season ahead.
Teammates is your first rival, but it's not my priority now. I think I showed that I can be with Kimi during a race, during a qualifying, so now I need to focus on myself and try to bring more points for the team.
Räikkönen is out of contract at the end of the season. McLaren say its special Gulf livery for Monaco will remain a one-off, with no plans for it to run again this season. Monte Carlo marked the 55th anniversary of the team's F1 debut, and it celebrated in style with an iconic Gulf rebrand. But the squad has ruled out leaving the wrap on the car. The only thing I want to say at the moment is that it was clearly a one-off livery, said team boss Andreas Seidel. Gulf first raced with McLaren from 1968, when founder Bruce was behind the wheel, to 1973. The partnership netting more than 40 wins across F1 and now defunct sports car series Can-Am. With more success at Le Mans in the 1990s with the McLaren F1 GTR, before the partnership was reprised with its Grand Prix team. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has responded to Sir Lewis Hamilton's recent comments that F1 has become a billionaire boys club, stating grassroots racing needs to be made more affordable. Hamilton recently admitted that the cost of racing in the junior categories today would have made it impossible for him to get to F1, because the other boys would have a lot more money. And it's a point Wolff agrees with the Austrian stating the costs are absurd and that the practice has to stop. All the big teams need to be able to identify those kids, rather than making it so expensive that a good go-karting season costs $250,000 US, an F4 season $500,000, and an F3 season $1 million, he said. It's estimated the cost of a junior racing career between karting and F2 is around $9 million US if all goes to plan. Indycar could provide F1's next inspiration, with the sport considering the North American Series' approach to red flags during qualifying, in deleting the fastest times for those who caused it. The rule is being looked at in the aftermath of Monaco, where Ferrari's Charles Leclerc set the fastest time in Q3 before crashing in the closing stages, locking in pole position. The smash wasn't a deliberate move, and the Monegasque did not start his home event after a driveshaft issue was discovered pre-race. But the sports power brokers say IndyCar's red flag ruling could be an intelligent way for the sport to avoid confusion in the future. We'll look at it, and together with all of the key stakeholders, determine if it's suitable or not, said F1 race director Michael Massey. Former Grand Prix driver Jarno Trulli says he may have been known as a qualifying specialist, but he was only delivering the car's potential. Trulli took just one win from his 252 F1 starts at Monaco in 2004, but was on pole 4 times, and told the Australian Grand Prix podcast In the Fast Lane the expectation of a perfect lap didn't faze him.
The only thing I can say is that for me qualifying was very simple. I just had to do what the car was capable to do and doing it in the right way. And probably this thing was very stressful for most of my rivals. So they just didn't get it as good as I was.
Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.